through the Federal Reserve.
Right. Now, there's been several steps that people say, well, this was an accident or, or it was done on purpose. But back, I think it was in 2006, whenever Congress mandated that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac make essentially bad, risky, toxic loans out to people who wouldn't afford them, loans that normally wouldn't be given out.
Yeah, right.
But Congress decided to try to force these financial institutions that were formerly government controlled but were then privatized to make all these bad loans, and essentially this created the housing bubble. I know several people, and I think you were actually one of them, talking about how this is going to create a bubble or a bad situation, which we're in right now. And for some reason, we haven't learned our lesson that socializing and almost turning into a fascist state, really, socializing institutions and having government mandate how they can and can't act. Like, for example, Obama recently fired the president of GMC. Mm-hmm. I see these personally as an attempt to destroy the dollar. And in doing so, when they can destroy the dollar and make people not confident in our monetary system, I'm sure you've heard of the North American Union and the Amero. I think this would be a way that they can more easily sell this North American Union. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, what happened to the banking system was that the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac was used to loot the nation by this scheme. And it became bankrupt. Oh, I forecast exactly that this thing was going to blow, and it's blown that way ever since. Is very simply, at that point, if we had put in bankruptcy law into motion at that time, that is in July through early September of that year, 2007, we could have bailed the whole thing out. But we would have meant my point was freeze everything, suspend the whole foreclosure process, put things into suspension as bankruptcy reorganization, declare the whole system to be in bankruptcy reorganization. Because the reason for these poor people buying into mortgages, which they couldn't afford, was the system. And it was done in order to create a base to enable the stock market and other institutions internationally to loot the United States. It was just a vehicle. So they used the debt of putting people into debt to get them by the throat.
They did that exactly.
Well, fine. So I said the solution is very simple. This was a swindle. We, as government, exert our authority. We put the thing into bankruptcy reorganization, and we save the chartered banks. But we eliminate the Wall Street banks, which are the such. And what they've done is they put the Wall Street bank and dumped that trash onto what was viable in terms of the state and chartered and federal chartered banks. So now we polluted those. Now we are looting them. We say we have no credit anymore. Why? Give us back the $8 to $13 trillion you stole, buddy. We think probably it's 21, actually. And therefore, the issue is not just an injustice. Here is a real operation to destroy a nation. And this Wall Street crowd, which has never been particularly patriotic, did it again, just as they tried to do it before. And the problem is the frightened people or confused people know they're being cheated, know they're being looted. They see it more clearly every day. Obama's made it more clear than anyone else. And they just are not sure of how they should act. And my job is to give them a sense that there is a solution, that we can do certain things, that there are solutions which fit our law, which fit our tradition. And if we simply make those choices and use those things as remedies, we could reorganize our way out of this mess.
Now, essentially, whenever you're mentioning Wall Street, I'd like to bring up a group that gets leaders of Wall Street, but not only Wall Street, political leaders all around the world. And many people say that actually these are the people who came up with the plan to have Freddie Mac put a stranglehold on the nation. I don't know if you're aware of the Bilderberg organization.
Oh, I'm very well aware of it.
And I think the Bilderberg organization is a great risk not only to national sovereignty, but it's a vehicle to bring about a new world order. Not to say that every member of the Bilderberg organization actually has a full idea what's going on. Of course, there's a pyramidal structure.
At the top, they do. There's complete understanding what they were. This is the same thing that created Hitler. Right? You take the Prince Philip of the Netherlands, who was the co-founder of the Bilderbergers. He was a member of the Nazi SS. Then you take practically another member of the SS, but he was British, was the present Prince Philip. Bernard and Philip are both. Now, what this is that you're looking at the British Empire, really, in its real form. And it's not a conspiratorial association in the sense that most people think of somebody's conspiring to sneak something in. This was an imposition from the top down. So you had the Anglo-Dutch interests have been since the latter part of especially the latter part of the 17th century, but even before. It came under a change, a revolution in Venetian policy under Paolo Sappi, the whole modern liberal policy is. But what it became known as the British Empire, otherwise known as the Anglo-Dutch liberal empire. And it's based on Paolo Sappi's policy of liberalism. The whole system is. This empire is a successor to the older Venetian monetary system, which had been the empire of the Middle Ages. Now this became the new empire. Still Venetian monetary system at base. But now it's under northern liberal influences rather than Mediterranean domination. So this modern liberal world empire of monetary interest, created a facility called the Bilderberg Fund, Bilderberg Society, to organize policies in the interest of the empire and to destroy the institution of the modern nation state. So it was not some conspiracy within the system, it was from the top of the system.
Right.
And it was from what we call the British Empire. But most people think of the British Empire as the empire of the English people, which it is not. It's an empire of an old, ancient connection of powerful financial forces in aggregate. A real, something out of Jonathan Swift, something like that, which has taken over the world and has a government agency which serves its combined interest. They kill each other, but they still fight to maintain the interest of the group.
Right.
They kill members.
It's a big card game. You don't up their game, and they get angry.
That's right. You kill one group off, and you bring another one in. But you have an oligarchy, a monetarist oligarchy, which actually runs the world. And the show business, everything else is the show. This is real. That's fundamental. That's the problem.